welcome back. And as KB would say, happy holidays. Appreciate you guys being here. Bowl week 2 update. We're going to go over some of the games that we've over the past few days, highlight some games the next few days as we're going to upload 3 times this week. So shout out us and shout out the listeners for sticking with us. Happy holidays once again. And KB, I know you had a good Christmas. You were just chatting before we went live with the recording. But how we doing, buddy? I think we actually had warmer weather last night up here than we did down in Phoenix.
Yeah, when I looked yesterday morning at about I think it was 9 o'clock my time, it was 40 something here and like 46 there. So you guys were warmer. I
Love
mean,
that.
obviously it's like noon at that time and it's still early morning here. But that is funny. Yeah, we got a little cold weather bug, but still had a great Christmas. Went golfing Sunday. It was nice out. I mean, can't get much better than that. Football games, we've been struggling. Dave and I were tied heading into Saturday, and the wheels fell off the bus. So picks, I'm not feeling as good on, but we're gonna talk about that today. Excited for the slate. I was able to watch a good amount of the games. I wasn't really out and about too much Saturday or Friday,
Same.
so I was able to kind of stay in and watch a lot of the games. And then I'm excited for this week's slate. Excited for all the Saturday games that we're going to be able to watch. Friday games and everything in between. The good and the bad is some of the later games out here start right after I get out of work, so I can watch them right away. But that means some of the earlier games, conclude before I even get a chance to watch them. Although I'm sure I'll follow them on my phone. But outside of that, Dave, how about the leader of the pack? Read off some of your record and kind of how well you're doing, dude. You're killing it.
Yeah, I was doing really good before, I think the last couple of days, but I'm 12-7 right now, 92.2%. So I'm doing pretty good overall. KB is, what are you, 8 and
Eight
KB
and
is 8 and
11.
11, 31.3%. You're doing all right. I think the difference maker was Saturday. I kind of went on a roll. Um, Obviously UCF lost to Georgia Tech, but then I had Northern Illinois. Man, I wish Troy could have made that win. But then I had Georgia State. I had Air Force, great game for them. South Georgia just destroyed Eastern. We'll talk about that. Utah, Northwestern. Good for the Wildcats. We'll talk about them more too. But that's what I've gotten right so far. Today I was wrong with Bowling Green, and then I've got Texas State. They're also winning, and I have UNLV, who's also winning. Only 13% people picked UNLV, so I feel good about that one. But let's just jump into some games, KB. I know you're kind of struggling, but that's okay. We'll break them down. I think the last game we talked about was USF Syracuse, and USF destroyed them. And the last few days we've had a handful of games, especially Saturday we had a lot. So we'll just jump into the first game. I got wrong, actually, KB, was Georgia Tech UCF. Georgia Tech with a 30-17 win. And for me, what I noticed after the first quarter, um, Georgia Tech took over the game. Their run game was huge, and their defense had plays, and UCF just didn't move the ball. I don't think they did much after the first quarter. So, good win by Georgia Tech. Haynes King ran the ball well, and so did Jamal Haynes. That's a name mix up if you want to have one. They ran for almost 300 yards as a team, 2 touchdowns, and their defense just shut down UCF. I think you picked the Yellow Jackets in this one.
I did. This was basically the only one I had all weekend, so I got it early. I think this game was Friday, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But really good game out of Georgia Tech. They were just able to establish the run, and UCF got up to huge, like 14 points. Looked easy. Looked like they were running away from it. And Georgia Tech just kind of came storming back, established the line of scrimmage. I think that this was really impressive from Georgia Tech. They've had that new coach down there for a few years. Obviously, going away from the triple option, it takes a
It's
long
hard.
time to kind of get the athletes.
Yep.
And, the ACC, although it was light this year, probably light last year, it's still a difficult conference to win at times. You got crappy weather half the year being on the East Coast and kind of some of those difficulties that come with playing in that conference. And Georgia Tech also plays Georgia every year, and they always have another difficult out-of-conference schedule. So them getting the 7 wins this year was really impressive. But yeah, just domination on the ground.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about that one? I mean, you got the good win there, but since that, it's kind of been downhill for you.
Yeah, after that, I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses in a row following that game. So Dave and I were neck and neck. I just got ahead of them, and then 8 consecutive losses on Saturday,
Oof.
and an earlier one today put me behind the 8 ball. Did you watch any of the Northern Illinois game?
I watched a little bit. I mean, that's the Fighting Rocky Lombardis. I know there's a controversial
Bullshit.
offside on the the onside kick, which they did recover. Arkansas State we're talking about, and it was hard to tell. I know the camera angle was a little bit skewed. There was definitely, if you watch the replay back, there were two guys were a little ahead. That doesn't mean they're offside, but the refs called it, and Butch Jones was hot. And then, of course, onside kick will never work twice. So Northern
Yeah.
Illinois recovered, and I was correct. Rocky Lombardi had an okay game. He threw two picks, but this was a pretty solid game, and Arkansas State did enough to make it close.
Yeah, that just like refs, what are you doing? Like, no one's ever gonna be mad if you don't call an offsides. Like, no one's gonna be like that offsides changed the game. Like, I just don't understand. You could even have thrown the flag and picked it up, and no one would have gave a crap.
Yeah,
I think Arkansas State played a really crappy game. This was a really sloppy game anyway.
yeah,
Rocky Lombardi either throws an absolute dot or makes one of the worst quarterback plays you've ever seen. It's so high. It's a roller coaster with them every play. Like I literally watched him. Like he lofted one on I think it was like 3rd and 13, like in the red zone, and he beat a guy over top of coverage, like dropped it, and then like 2 possessions later, he comes out and just like dots the opponent, like just here you go, dude. Here's the ball. And it was a very up and down performance. But yeah, I just hated that because it's like onside kicks don't happen ever. They're super difficult to have happen, and just that happening when they get it and a flag being thrown and offsides just was like shitty because it. No, like refs, we aren't there to see you. No one cares if you make that call, but you did, and you completely changed the whole entire game.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a hard fought game.
I gotta say the bowl.
Definitely fun game.
Yeah, fun game. We didn't say the bowl games what they're called. We got to keep on. We've been saying them, so I got to go back to the last game. That was the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Yellow Jackets, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets win that one. And the game we're talking about is the Camilla Bowl. I think this was somewhere in Alabama or something like that. And yeah, I will say I was just thinking, if you're the line judge, whoever's at there's got to be a ref at the 10-yard mark, correct? That is watching, or not the 10-yard mark, but where the line is, and they run up. So maybe his angle was, oh, this guy's a step over. We didn't have that angle. It is what it is. Onside kicks are very hard, and they are, it is what it is. It's not going to happen twice in a row. If it happens twice in a row, damn, your kicker must have had two really good bounces, and the other team just had some, not good hands. But sucks to see. The coach for Arkansas State has had a roller coaster of a career, to say the least, in my opinion, KB. But good for Northern Illinois representing the MAC. I always think the MAC does well. I know Bowling Green lost today, but I just want to shout out the MAC again. Any more thoughts in this game before we jump to the next one?
Nope, we're good, and I can lead this one off. The 76 Birmingham Bowl, the Duke Blue Devils versus the Troy Trojans. Duke got out of there with a 17-10 win. Troy was the 69% pick team in this, so they were heavily favored in the fan voting, and they lost 17-10, which was a really close game, really good game. Well, I shouldn't say really good game. It was pretty boring. There wasn't
Yeah.
a lot of scoring. Quarterback play was mediocre. Obviously, Riley Leonard's in the portal. The guy that was behind him didn't play very well. I didn't honestly watch a ton of this game, Dave. So if you watch a ton of it, you can break it down,
I
but I
did.
got this one wrong.
Yeah, the wife and the kid were sick a lot of the day on Saturday, so I was just kind of on the couch hanging out. But yeah, I also picked Troy in this game. I guess Troy had a stomach bug going through the whole team. All the guys are getting IVs, et cetera, et cetera. So Gunnar Watson was sick all week, but he played. I did see some stat that he's like the only like so fifth or sixth year quarterback that stayed on one team. Some crazy stat like that hasn't transferred. You probably saw it, KB, on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
But shout out to him for being a loyal guy to a smaller mid-major team. That's really good. Obviously, 11 wins, 10 wins a year. So shout out Gunnar Watson. Okay day for him. No touchdowns thrown. I don't know why, but Troy really didn't lean on the run. Kamani Vidal had 17 carries for 79 yards. He was a really good running back all year. He had 1,400 plus yards, and they would run with him for two plays, and then they would try to get tricky or cute and throw the ball when half their team probably has the shits or is throwing up. So why not just lean on your stud running back and give him 25 touches? I don't know. But Duke's defense was really good. Loftus, the backup for Duke that started, that's probably going to lose his job to Malik Murphy, who's transferring to Duke. He made big throws when he needed to, but was about it. The biggest thing was defense here for Duke, and if Troy's team doesn't have a stomach bug all week or the 3 or 4 days, maybe they come out better. Obviously, throwing up and the other way and being dehydrated and not feeling good, being in pad. I couldn't imagine being in pads and trying to hit somebody feeling like shit. So, shout out for Troy for putting up a fight. They scored in the final, the fourth quarter and had a chance to come back and win, but they just didn't. So we both got this one wrong, KB, and Duke got the win here. We'll jump to the next game. My lovely, lovely, lovely Air Force Falcons figured it out, finally, against a good JMU team. They won 31-21 in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. Shout out military per usual here. Um, the run game for Air Force against, I think, the top rushing defense was next level. Um, Emmanuel Michel, who I think is their fullback, technically, 35
Yeah,
carries,
he's their dive player.
35 carries, 203, two touchdowns. He had a log of 54. John Lee Eldridge, who is one of their, I think, running backs. I don't know what they're called, wing backs probably. He had 8 rushes for 78 yards. 51 was his long, and the rest of the team kind of were mediocre from there. Larrier had one nice touchdown throw. He was 3 for 5 for 45 yards and a tutty. JMU looked decent. Jordan McLeod, I think, is a good quarterback, but he threw a pick and they could not run the ball. They only had 26 rushing yards. Air Force's defense was stout. And this is a fun game for me to watch as Air Force was kind of my team. They lost 4 in a row, and then they finally figured it out and won their bowl game. So, kudos to both teams in the bowl game, and really good years by both teams. 11-2 for JMU in their first or second year in FBS, and Air Force finishing the year off with a win.
Yeah, this was a really dominant approach in just game in its entirety. Sorry, I'm trying to get these chats to freaking mute.
No worries.
But yeah, it was a really impressive performance. I think JMU didn't necessarily play that bad, but their errors were just catastrophic. There was some weird plays where they would get like 2 or 3 tackles for a loss, and it'd be like second or third in a mile. And for this team, I mean, that's incredibly difficult for them to kind of manage that, being a triple option team, being a team that has to run. And they just didn't have that issue. It felt like they were able to kind of get those downs and yardages that they might not normally get in games. Sorry, my
No, you're
laptop was
good.
dying.
You're good.
I had to change over to a different webcam.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, so
We'll do it live.
one take. Everyone knows the rules, right?
That's right.
But it was a really impressive performance. This JMU defense, they had a good amount of tackles for loss. 5, but it was just such a consistent effort from this Air Force unit, and they were just able to run the ball at will. And when you can do that, you can take the time out of the ball. There wasn't a ton of possessions, and James Madison just made too many mistakes. Obviously, Air Force, I picked JMU in this game because I was like, Air Force had made a billion mistakes in every single game they played since we started following
No
them.
fumbles. Zero.
And then, of course, 0 fumbles, 0 turnovers, a very clean slate, not a ton of
Hardly any
penalties, and they
penalties.
take the win. Yeah.
Yeah, also shout out KB. I know you texted me. Bo Richter, he's a linebacker for Air Force. He had 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Yeah, he was just playing a man possessed out there.
Yeah, he could have had like 6. The JMU's quarterback is pretty athletic, and he might have had like 8 pressures. I don't know what the official stats, but every single time I switched back to that game, they had him one-on-one with the right tackle or a left tackle, and he was just ruining that guy's day. He was just play after play after play. So that was really impressive.
Yeah, and they had one pick by a good name, Jonathan Youngblood, so good name on him. Bo Richter, also a great name, and he had a great game. So shout out Air Force for ending the year strong. I think during the game, too, they said it multiple times, these guys only get 4 years. They don't redshirt. They don't get any more eligibility at Air Force. They can't get NIL because technically they're employees of the Department of Defense, which is crazy.
Right, yeah.
And I think they might have a couple other restrictions. I know that sometimes there's height and weight restrictions, but I think I was looking it up because I'm doing a dynasty in NCAA myself, just to kind of make it fun with Air Force. And I think also to do the linemen just have to pass a physical test. They don't have to be a certain weight and height, but obviously being in shape, being a bigger guy, is at 300 pounds.
Yeah.
It's not easy. So shout out to Air Force and all the academies for putting that work in and not getting all the perks that everybody else gets. 6-7 years of playing. And getting 6 figures. So shout out.
Yeah,
to them.
and that's the thing too, Dave. Like what you were saying is, well, they have to pass the physical test, but this isn't just like, oh, you can move weight around. Like you have to be able to run miles and miles and miles. Like you can't carry 340 around on your frame. Like if you look at Alabama's line, which we'll talk about later this week, Like they're all 335 plus. Like you can't weigh that much and do the
Yeah.
physical requirements of an Air Force job or a Navy job or an Army job. So that is one of those things. So that's why they run the triple option, that they are more out in space. One of the fun graphics too that we saw is kind of the limitations that they put is you can only chop block inside the tackle boxes. You can't chop block outside of them now,
Yep.
and then you can't chop block past 5 yards down the field. Obviously, these are safety concerns. Um, and sometimes it isn't even just to stop, the triple option because it isn't widely ran, but it's mostly on like screens and stuff when you see someone get like catch a chop block on their knee 6 yards downfield. And so that's limited these offenses a bit too and made it more difficult to run these as efficiently as you'd probably want them to and previously could.
Yeah. I will say, whatever JMU scouted for this Air Force team for running the ball and being a really good running defense team, they had no answer. They had like 351 yards as a team. So shout out to Air Force. Good win. I'll take that notch on the belt. Next game I got, KB, is Georgia State, Utah State. I picked this correctly. I just had a feeling deep south, fast, spread the ball around. Georgia State wins the famous Idaho Potato Bowl up in Boise, 45-22. And, from what I saw, they kind of dominated the first half. They scored 21 in the first, 10 in the second, and then they just scored a touchdown each quarter. Utah State was kind of mediocre, 14 in the first, 8 in the fourth quarter. That's all they scored. And the offense here and the running game for Georgia State was huge. Freddie Brock, 24 carries, 276 and a touchdown. Darren Granger for Georgia State as well, 24 carries, 111 and 2 touchdowns. So shout out the running backs, shout out the O-line. Georgia State offense got the job done, and the defense shut down Utah State after the first quarter.
Yeah, this is actually a fun stat, little thing here. So Georgia State had 643 yards of total offense, and Utah State had 346. So you flip those back and forth; they're the same numbers, which I think was pretty cool looking at the stats here.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was just an all-time game from Granger. He had 257 through the air. He had 3 incompletions with 3 touchdown passes, and he
I didn't
also
even
added.
notice that was a quarterback. Shit.
Yeah, that was their
He had
quarterback.
a
Yeah,
hell
dude,
of a
he was
game.
running around. They called like 3 or 4 QB draws in the start. He had 111 and 2, so he had 5 total touchdowns. A really impressive performance. This is obviously one of the best bowl game traditions. You pour fries on your coach. So Idaho, famous Idaho Potato Bowl is really good. Yeah, Utah State just made a few too many errors, and they just couldn't get a stop. I mean, when you let up over 600 yards of offense against you, you're getting absolutely mollywopped on defense, and that's just the story of the game.
KB, you picked Utah State.
Utah State. Yeah, I got all these games wrong.
Okay.
None of the games that we're about to say I got right, Dave.
Wait, so you're telling me you picked Eastern?
Yeah, you don't remember? I had to pick the only other Michigan team and
Oh
a
yeah.
green and
Oh
white
yeah.
Michigan
Oh yeah. Oh
team,
yeah.
which I was trolling. I literally said we can wind back the tape. I was like, they're gonna get murdered. I was like, there's no way they're gonna win this game. South Alabama's a much better team,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I have to support one MAC school and I have to support the in-state school. But this was the 68 Ventures Bowl, and this game was just a complete and utter
I mean, 17,
embarrassing
21,
performance.
21. Yeah, that's tough. They didn't score in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. South Alabama had 627 yards of offense to 150, 320 rushing yards. And then obviously it was 59-10. I don't really want to highlight that. There was a fight that broke out. Well, I shouldn't say fight. It was a cheap shot from
I
an
didn't
Eastern
see that.
Michigan
I didn't
player.
see that right away. I was like, oh, there's just a dumb fight, and then I think the next morning I saw the kid. He's like a freshman or someone didn't play, and then they were like
Yeah.
doing their alma mater, and he just sucker punched him.
Yeah, and then that led to a brawl. One of the things that I found really interesting is the South Alabama coach talked about how maybe that they were jeering and running up the score, not being like good winners. Still doesn't excuse what that guy did. He came out publicly because someone else got blamed for this originally. A viral video went out, and his number was a 9, I think, and it got mistaken for a 5, or it was a 5, and people thought it was a 9, but the wrong person was getting attacked. Oh, Pistons lost again.
Mark the record books.
Yeah, the goat of all goats. But so that guy, the person who actually did it, came out and apologized. He reached out to the player that he punched and the coach and
It
apologized.
seemed like he went for like a specific player. Like the way
Yeah,
they were like standing there singing their alma mater, and then in the highlight you see the Eastern guy walk in and just
yeah.
cold
I mean,
cock the
he came
guy
over there without a helmet on. Like, I mean, at least have your helmet with you and to, like protect yourself. And
around
then
a
he
whole
gets,
team.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't obviously a good decision. You have to control your emotions. The Georgia or South Alabama coach had a really long statement about like how we have to. These guys are on the edge of their emotions for 60 minutes and trying to control it, and
Yeah,
sometimes we lose it. And he's like, I don't want that player to have his life ruined. I was like, and I thought that was a really cool
classy move.
statement.
Classy move.
Yeah, and I think from what I heard, like I said before, is that they might have been jeering and causing it. And even if that guy didn't play, that they were kind of egging them on and kind of talking shit. Which I mean, if you're up
I mean,
59 to
59
10 in a bowl
nothing.
game, you can.
I'll be
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
shit
yeah,
too. I mean, the backup
yeah.
quarterback
So
was 9 for 17 for 115 and a touchdown.
yeah,
And
so
did I didn't really watch much of this game. KB did. Does Eastern can just move the ball? I mean, and they had
they're
one
just you
pick.
just got dominated. They just got dominated.
Okay.
Every the line out wide tackling intensity. They didn't play a good game, and South Alabama I think is a good team, and they put it to them.
All right, love that. They did beat Oklahoma State, even though they were 7-6. College football is weird. Uh,
Very weird.
excuse me. Next game, one that kind of was bittersweet for me. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. I picked the Utah State or the Utah Utes. They lost 14-7 to Northwestern Wildcats. Shout out to Northwestern. What a year. All this stuff with their coach getting fired, and what was true and what was not true. There could have been some hazing going on, and the coach is covering it up. But what a year. This coach was. I was watching some highlights. I didn't watch a lot of the game, but he was getting fired up, and the guys are playing for him. I think Northwestern's quarterback's gotten a little bit better. Ben Bryant, 223 for 34, 222, two touchdowns. But Utah's offense was atrocious. Shout out to Northwestern's defense. They did a really good job as well. But good season for them. 8-5 after a terrible year last year. The coaching changes. I really wish Utah would have got the win here, but as a former coach in a dynasty with Northwestern, shout out the Cats. I also like their uniforms. I wish their helmets they had like a cursive script Northwestern. If it just said Cats, or I don't know if it said Northwestern or Wildcats. If it just said Cats in cursive, I think it would have been one of the best jerseys of all season.
Yeah, this is a really cool combo. It sucks that Utah isn't joining the Big Ten because this is exactly what the Big Ten West vibe is.
Absolutely.
There wasn't a lot of offense here. Northwestern really struggled. Both teams really struggled with protection. I mean, uh, there were 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss for Utah, and Northwestern had 5 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. Ben Bryant played an okay game. You look at the final line, 222, 2 TDs. You're like, that's good, but he averaged 6.5 yards. He was in it. He couldn't throw it downfield at all. They didn't really run the ball. Some really stout defenses. But overall, Northwestern, like, this is the best coaching job. I know everyone likes Dion and everyone brought the intensity, but both those teams were 1-11. And Northwestern came into a previous hazing situation where they had to get rid of the coach. They didn't have any of the glamour. They didn't tell all of their kids to go F off, right? They're at a very difficult school, maybe
Yep.
the most difficult to recruit in one of the big Power Fives now. Or, well, like them, Stanford are like kind of in the upper echelons, even above Michigan in difficulty to recruit to. And this was just a really impressive turnaround from this coach. So happy for this university. Northwestern has always been a thorn in basically every Big Ten opponent's side,
But we all
and
kind of
happy.
we all respect and love them. Like I know I do.
Yeah,
I've been to the stadium. I'm glad is getting an upgrade because it definitely needs it. I hope it's gonna be really cool. I'd love to go back to Ryan Field when it is upgraded. But for me, I know I played with them in a dynasty back in the day against Promo Guy, but it's just something about them. They're like the team. They're like that team that you always want to win. They're kind of an underdog, hard to recruit, and then every now and again they have really good players. So I don't know what it is from EKB, but I think they're kind of a beloved team, amongst my friend group. So I don't know if
yeah.
that goes for a lot of Big Ten fans, but it's a cool vibe. It's in Chicago. The campus felt cool when I was there, but I'm really looking forward to the new stadium whenever that gets done.
Yeah, absolutely awesome for them. Like we were kind of talking about. It's just like one of those teams where they pull off upsets and I mean they're just like they have like so little fandom
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
almost like
it's
you
bad.
kind of root for them because like you hope that like someone cares and like eventually someone does. But shout out to Northwestern, impressive Big Ten West win. Winning the right way, right? Ball control, running, clock management, defense.
Yeah.
All those spicy words we hear for half of our games. The next game, Coastal Carolina, San Jose State in the Easy Post Hawaii Bowl. I had San Jose State in this game. Coastal Carolina played. Uh, and won 24 to 14. Coastal Carolina, without their starting quarterback, who entered the portal, Grayson McCall. Vasco was his name, Ethan Vasco. He had 3 TDs through the air, added 50 yards on the ground.
Hmm.
Pretty good performance. But I was really impressed with the defense. San Jose State in the Mountain West during the back half of the year was really doing a great job moving the ball, and they were really limited in this game.
Yes, I had San Jose State as well, KB. The way they finished the season in the Mountain West, I thought they were going to be really good coming out firing. And also the travel. I know it's probably a few days they're in Hawaii, but I thought they would be better since their flights from Cali to Hawaii compared to Myrtle Beach or Conway, all the way across the country, and then you got to fly over the Pacific Ocean. But kudos for Coastal. I love their logo, the Chants, the Sean Eclairs. My brother went there. Shout out my brother Dalton. And they've always been pretty good program the last few years, and they're out without McCall. Kind of curious to see if Noah Kim starts there next year, but Ethan Vasco looked decent here. Um, I thought San Jose was more of a running team here. They didn't get much going. 25 carries, 160 as a team. I feel like they could have had more going there. Quarterback was mediocre. Um, didn't watch this one a lot though, but I'm pretty sure the Hawaii Bowl is usually played on Christmas Eve, and it's like not too late, and it's at the Aloha Bowl or stadium, whatever. But I think now it's at Hawaii Stadium. That they have their own stadium now, and it wasn't on Christmas Eve, so a little bit different vibes here. I think I usually watch the Hawaii Bowl, but this year I didn't. But I got this one wrong as well, KB. Any more thoughts before we might as well jump into the games that just are finishing up and started for today?
Yeah, and just so we're clear, it probably wasn't on Christmas Eve Sunday because the NCAA
NFL.
can't. Yeah, NFL. That's the only reason why. So usually probably is on Christmas Eve, and I assume going forward, if it isn't on a Sunday NFL, it won't be. But I'm sure that's the only reason why. But yeah, they definitely did move stadiums. Some of the games that were basically done with everything that happened. There's games obviously going on right now. Well, we wanted to preview
Yeah.
two sets of the games for the next 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to highlight one game on Wednesday. Dave, you can highlight one if you so choose, and we'll do that for Thursday as well because we will be back Thursday, upload Friday to preview the rest of the slate of the Friday-Saturday games. And then we'll be back Saturday to preview the BCS National Championship games.
BCS, I love you.
Or DCS, not BCS,
The
the
CFP.
CFP. Um,
I
but
love you.
the one game I'm looking forward to really watching is the North Carolina and West Virginia game. Both teams are 8-4. You have Mac Brown and Neil Brown. This West Virginia team is a physical team. They turned it around with a really great defensive performance this year. I mean, Neil Brown was on the hot seat, and if he can get to 9 wins, that's a really impressive performance out of him. And Mac Brown with May at the quarterback position only getting 8 wins is really disappointing.
Yes.
They still haven't figured out the defensive side of the ball, but they have one of the best backs in the country in Amari and Hampton too. So this is going to be a really fun game. I see a lot of points being put up by both sides here, and I see some great rushing attacks. So that's one of the games I'm at. It's the Duke's Mayo Bowl too, and Mayo gets dumped on people, so that's one of the also the best things about it. West Virginia is currently a 6.5 point favorite. And then on top of all that, we will get to see North Carolina's future maybe at quarterback to see how they play, see if they're bringing in a transfer maybe if he really, really struggles. But we'll be able to kind of look at that game for tomorrow.
Yeah, I got West Virginia in that game, KB. They are 33% picked right now, which is interesting because they are the favorite. I'm really interested to see that. I thought North Carolina was kind of disappointing this year because I had Drake May as my Heisman pick, and Mac Brown, I think, is a really good coach. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird vibes. I think the one I'll highlight quick here would be the DirecTV Holiday Bowl, USC Louisville here. I got Louisville. For me, that's an easy pick. I think USC are frauds. I've kind of said that more than once this year, KB. I know you know that. But for me, I think Louisville with Brom, they're a great team. Their offense is clicking. I know their running back's not playing, but they probably have another guy behind him that can do decent. Their line, is solid. Their defense played really well against. I know Florida State was down, but their defense did their job when they needed to this year. So I'm looking forward to Louisville getting a win against USC, and I guess we'll see USC's future at quarterback. Rumor has it they're trying to get Aiden Childs the whole last week. They're trying to get him over. Lincoln Riley's being, Lincoln Riley. Obviously, he's trying to do his job to recruit a quarterback. Obviously, a lot of his guys are transferring out. Caleb Williams is probably going to go to the draft or transfer. Who knows? But I don't think he's playing per KB. I'm correct there.
Yeah.
He's not.
I don't think he's playing.
Okay, so I guess we'll see what they have in the future here. I really like Louisville in this game. I just like what they stand for. I like Brom. I like how they play. USC's frauds. They're soft. They play like their coach. Like, I'll take the money and run kind of guy. So that's the game that I wanted to highlight. And the other
Yeah.
games that are Mania tomorrow will be the
Nope.
Military Bowl, Tulane,
Oh yeah.
Vod Tech. I think I got Tulane picked. KB.
Yeah, I was just gonna quick bring up. Yeah, I have USC picked in that game that we talked about.
Ooh.
It's really gonna be. I wanted this to be a gut check. Because if they lose this game, what's the point of having Lincoln Riley? What's the point of giving him all this money
Money.
if we see all of the same things and the same issues? They brought a new defensive coordinator in. They've been trying to work through these issues, trying to work through these things. And I mean, I know they have a lot of people in the portal. Louisville has some guys in the portal, some guys. Jawar Jordan's not playing in this game. So there's going to be an interesting matchup. You're going to get a lot of young guys, a lot of guys that are going to try to have to prove themselves. And I just like USC being a little bit more talented
Who
on
would you
that side
rather
of the
play
ball.
for? Who would you rather play for?
Brom or
Brom or Lincoln
no?
Riley?
I hate Lincoln Riley. I think he's a pussy. But I mean, that's
I'd
why I think
ask.
his team has struggled. Yeah. But I just was like, if he isn't going to do it now, he's never going to do it in his career. And like, that's a major
Then who
issue.
does USC
He-
get to replace him?
No one. That's the problem. You're stuck. You're not going to hire anyone better.
Yeah.
And you paid him a ton of money with a ton of guarantees. Yeah, you have A&M also versus Oklahoma State.
In the
Playing.
Texas Bowl.
Yep. And then, do you want to highlight a Thursday game for us, Dave?
Let me look here. Mm, yes, there's two games I kind of want to talk about, but I'll say what the games. I'll just say what the games are, KB. Then I'll jump into the game. So the games on
Okay.
Thursday are the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, Boston College, SMU. I got SMU. KB, who do you got for that one?
SMU as well.
Next up on Thursday will be the Bad Boys Mowers Pinstripe Bowl in the Yankee Stadium. We got Miami Rutgers. I got the U. I just think they're too much for Rutgers. Maybe they run well with the running back Monungai, but I got the U. What about you, KB?
Same as well.
Next game is the Pop Tarts Bowl. I saw the trophy. Looks pretty sick. It's like an
Yeah.
actual legit trophy with a football, and the football has like a toaster. It's probably not a toaster, but it looks like a toaster on
Like
top.
the slots. Yeah.
I also hope they have a huge Pop Tart that the winning team eats. That'd be pretty sick as well.
Supposedly it's edible. Yeah, but make sure everyone takes off their gloves, get some squirts of antibacterial before they start mowing on it.
Yeah. I got Kansas State. I love this team. I love Kansas State. They're kind of like that Wisconsin team. I say it every time I talk about them, but they always find a way to win. But I think NC State's a good team as well. This could be a really fun game. What do you got for that one, KB?
I have K-State as well.
Okay. We got a lot of the same picks. Um, the game
Then
that
the last
I want to
game is
highlight is
Valero,
the
Alamo.
the Alamo Bowl. To shout out Arizona, what a year! Delora, the backup, is in the portal. Fafita is a dude, a dog, and I think McMillan. They went to high school together. You're probably going to hear that one 20 times when you watch the game on Thursday night against Oklahoma Sooners. I think Oklahoma's done a really good job this year, all things considered. Gabriel's gone though. We're going to see who they want to have at quarterback. I think he's pretty good. I can't remember his name.
Jackson Arnold,
yeah.
5-star.
Yeah, big name, big recruit. I think Venables is a nutso, and that's a compliment. I think he's a good coach. I think he gets his players going. But I think Arizona, if they don't lose some weird, wacky games to start the year, they could be, the
If
it could
Fafita
have
was
been
starting
weird. It
at
could have been really
the
weird
beginning of the
year,
year.
man. It could have been weird in the Pac-12, and it already was weird, and it was great. So I think Arizona's had a hot season. This could be a really fun game, back and forth. But I got Arizona Wildcats, but I'm looking forward to watching this one on Thursday night.
Yeah,
I got nothing else going
I have-
on, so I'll be glued to
I
the
have
TV.
OU for that game. I just kind of like sometimes when really hot teams have to take 3 or 4 weeks off and you're
Yeah.
not playing and you're not riding that high, and teams get more time to kind of study you and digest you and see where you're actually at. Some of those other mistakes kind of linger. So I have Oklahoma in that game. I think they're more talented. I think they're going to try and see what Jackson Arnold can do. They're not going to play scared with the true freshman. They're going to look to get him reps so he can start. and be in rhythm and have some game film and some tape to review for next year when he's probably going to be the starting quarterback as a true sophomore.
Yeah. Did he play
But
this?
like you
Did he
said,
play this year a lot? So
he
no
got
red
some
shirt.
garbage time snaps.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's not redshirting, I don't think.
Okay.
I'd have to double check, but I know he got in some games. Kansas State versus NC State. I don't know how this game is this closely picked. I don't think NC State is that good of a football team.
Mm.
And I know there's some controversy around their starting quarterback and who's actually going to be playing. And it was like they committed to this guy, but they didn't tell him something. So I don't even know what's going on
He's
with
gone,
them.
I'm
And I
pretty
just
sure.
think that the ACC, yeah, and I think they might have Brennan Armstrong, the former Virginia guy that had one single good year there. And so I just don't know what's going to what this game looks like. And Kansas State has a positive rushing attack, which I don't really think NC State does. And they don't have their quarterback either. So if both teams are down their quarterback that kind of led them to this record, and one team can run the ball and has an identity, I'm going to kind of take that team. No offense to NC State, but I just think that the ACC basically had two competent teams in it, and the rest of the teams just got dog walked. This NC State team lost 45-14 to Notre Dame, who wasn't a great team, and that was a road game. So I just overall don't have a lot of faith in that, but awesome slate of games during the week. I wish I had time off and I wasn't sitting in the office, although I might throw it on because what the heck are you going to do during this week actually in an office?
Yes.
Um,
I'm off.
but really, really excited for these games. And then obviously the beginning of the New Year's slate starting Friday is kind of right when we get into those juicier games and we start seeing some of the big names come up.
Absolutely. And just to, there's games going on right now where KB and I are recording and talking. The Serve Pro First Responder Bowl is all done and wrapped up. Texas State wins 45-21. KB, did you have Texas State as well?
Yeah, we both had Texas State
Both
there.
had Texas State. Not seeing anything crazy in the stat line I'm looking at quick. It just looks like Rice couldn't really do much on offense. Uh, and Texas State did enough to win by 20 plus points here. Any quick thoughts, KB?
No, but quick shout out to Luke McCaffrey, former Nebraska quarterback that they wanted to turn into a receiver, who said, no, I don't want to be a receiver, who then left to go to Rice to be a quarterback. And they were like, hey, you just need to be a receiver. And then he turned into a receiver and has actually been a very productive college receiver. But yeah, they just didn't have anyone in JT Daniels
Five
transfer
picks.
there. He had to medically recover, or he had to medically retire, and they just didn't have anyone behind him. TJ Finley.
Nothing crazy.
Was the starting quarterback for Texas State. Nothing crazy. But this is the TJ Finley that was at LSU in 2020, Auburn for 2 years, and now at Texas State. And he's technically only a sophomore, it says. I don't know if that's a redshirt sophomore or something, but
What?
he's been in school four
College
years
football
already.
ain't real, baby. And
It's
then
not
there's a new
real.
rule
It's
that
not
came out that
real.
guys can transfer, I think, right away now. I don't know what that entails, but I saw the memo that they sent to everybody, and it was like they're not even policing anything. So who knows what the transfer rule is now? It sounds like anybody can just up and leave whenever they want.
Yeah,
Um, and,
absolutely.
and the other game that's happening right now is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Right down the
UNLV.
road for me.
Yeah, I guess it's. I didn't know this, but KB was just telling me it's in Phoenix. It's at where the Diamondbacks play, so that's kind of cool. A little tidbit. Yeah, Chase Field. 7-7 currently in the second quarter. I have UNLV, the go-go. I think KB does as well. I haven't really watched it yet, but it looks like we got a good uniform game. I don't know how people think about the Kansas helmets. It is what it is, but it's 7-7. Not much to say so far. And it looks like Kansas got a first down. But any quick thoughts on this game, KB, before we kind of wrap it up here? We're gonna have 3 recordings this week, so it's gonna be a busy week. Busy week
Yeah,
for
no,
us.
not a ton. Gonna probably throw the game on and relax here for the next little bit before
Yep.
I go to bed. But nope, I'm excited. Can't bring that up enough. This is the best part of the year. We have NFL football wrapping up. We have
Shout out Lions.
college
30 years,
football.
KB.
Yeah, 30 damn
Since
years.
we've
Let's go.
existed, both of us, they've never won the NFC North, and they clinched it. So shout out Detroit Lions.
They've gone so long since winning it that it was the NFC Central.
Yes, correct.
It wasn't the NFC North. They were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's how long ago it was. Who are now in the South. That's who their opponent in conference was.
Yeah.
So absolutely wild. Shout out Lions. But yeah, just NFL and everything's kind of coming to thing, and we're gonna have some
KB's
extra
excited
time
to
off.
talk about his team, guys. Just don't worry.
I'm
He's
excited
got
to talk
5
about
pages of
Washington,
notes.
Texas. I'm excited to talk about Washington, Texas. I haven't written anything down, but I've been
Oh,
listening
great
and kind
game.
of
Can't wait.
following all of it. Should be really, really fun. And I'm just excited because, this is when not the rubber meets the road, because I think that's a cliche statement, but this is where you kind of find out a little bit more about everyone. Bowl games might not mean as much as they used to, and we can't use them as this is the standard of this conference did well, this conference didn't do well. Like you have to look at all of it contextually, but this is where you can kind of see how different conferences play, right? It's going to be interesting to see a Texas team that has a, sus secondary but a great run stopping unit. Well, how does that go against Washington, who's going to throw it over your head 30
They run
times?
well now. We'll talk about
Yeah,
it.
and so I'm just excited, just those jitters, just happy for everything kind of going forward, and appreciate talking with you, Dave. Appreciate everyone who listens,
Hmm.
and hope you guys all have a good new year. I know we'll talk to you a few times before it, but if this is the last episode you get because you're traveling and stuff, let us know. But go blue.
Yeah, KB, appreciate everybody here listening and us talking, KB, as always. I know we both had decent Christmases. Happy holidays once again. We're going to talk, and I'll probably say it again in a couple days here, but shout out everybody. It's Tuesday. We're going to recording on Thursday and on Saturday. So be ready to have, listen to us crazy, weirdos talking about football, and we'll see you later this week. We might have a special guest for our preview for the big games, but we'll wait till we get there to see what happens with schedules and whatnot. So thanks as always, and go green.